What if time is not a straight line, but a door that someone once opened? In the year 1941, a figure dressed as if she had escaped from our century appears in a photograph from a Canadian bridge. In 1950, a New York street becomes the scene of tragedy when a man in 19th century clothing collides with a 20th century car. In the year 2000, internet forums are abuzz with the words of a stranger who claims to have seen the world of 2036, a world of war and devastation. And in the year 2003, Wall Street trembles with rumors of a trader who made a fortune in an instant by knowing the future from the year 2256. These stories are like echoes from another dimension where past, present, and future are intertwined. Who are they? Visitors from other eras, masters of deception, or ghosts of our imagination? Today, we take a journey through the ages to uncover the secrets of those who may have deceived time itself. From old photographs to digital footprints, each clue brings us closer to the answer. Is it real or an illusion born of our thirst for wonder? In November of 1941, a crowd of locals gathered in the small Canadian town of Gold Bridge in the province of British Columbia. They had come for the grand opening of the South Fork Bridge, which had been rebuilt after a devastating flood the year before. Some of the people present clicked their cameras, capturing the moment. Men in strict suits and fedoras, women in modest dresses. A typical picture of the early 20th century, the 40s. But decades later, this very picture will become the object of heated debates and riddles. In the center of attention will be one person, a young man whose clothes and behavior stand out from the rest, as if he fell out of another time. This photograph first came into the public domain in 2004 when the Bray-Lorne Pioneer Museum included it in its exhibition, Their Past Lives Here, organized with the support of the Virtual Museum of Canada. The photograph remained a mere historical artifact until 2010, when it was digitized and posted on the internet. That's when web users noticed him, them from the future. At first glance, he looked like an alien from the 21st century. Dark sunglasses, a t-shirt with a logo, and a compact camera in his hands. Around him, everyone was dressed in the spirit of the 20th century, the 40s, strict suits, hats, long coats. Naturally, the internet exploded with theories. Is it really a time traveler, accidentally caught in the lens? Rumors grew like a snowball. Some called him a hipster from the 20th century, 40s. Others called him real proof of the existence of time machines. Sites like Fark and Boing Boing picked up the story, publishing headlines like "Time Traveler Captured in 1941st Year." Forums like Reddit filled with discussion. Some argued that his glasses were too modern, others pointed to the print t-shirt. After all, such things supposedly didn't exist in the 20th century, the 40s. And the camera? Could there have been such small devices in those years? It all seemed like the perfect case for fans of mystery and conspiracy. However, researchers and skeptics soon took it upon themselves to figure out what was actually captured in the photo. They examined every element of this mysterious man's clothing and accessories. Sunglasses? It turned out that such models with side protection appeared back in the 20th century, the 20s. Yes, they were not popular, but they existed and were sold. T-shirt with a logo caused more controversy, but upon closer examination, it turned out that this is most likely a sweater with a sewn emblem. Such things were worn by sports teams of the time. Some suggested that it could be the emblem of the Montreal Maroons, a hockey team that existed from 1924 to 1938. As for the camera, there was an explanation. Kodak had been producing portable models such as the Kodak 35 or the folding pocket since the early 20th century, and the photography enthusiast might well have had one in 1941. What follows is more. Historians have noted that the man's clothing, though seemingly unusually casual for the event, was not impossible for the 20th century, 40s. After World War II, veterans often wore T-shirts as casual clothing, and in rural areas such as the Gold Bridge, people often dressed more simply than in the cities. His style could have just been an eccentric choice, not an anomaly. So what was he? A time traveler, or just a fashionista ahead of his time? The staging theory was also considered. What if he was an actor or a participant in some local event? But no evidence of this was found. Snopes, a well-known myth-busting website, summed it up. Everything he's wearing and holding existed in the year 1941. No miracle, no time machine, just a man who stood out in a crowd. Nevertheless, the story didn't die. It became an urban legend, an example of how the internet can breathe life into an old snapshot. In 2011 at the Museums and the Web Conference in Philadelphia, the case was even discussed as a viral marketing phenomenon. For the Bralorn Pioneer Museum, it was an unexpected gift. Their website was flooded with traffic, and a quiet exhibition became a sensation. Today, looking at this photograph, some see it as a hint at the mysteries of the universe, others as a reminder of how easily we can be fooled into looking for the incredible where it doesn't exist. But one thing is certain, this man in glasses and a sweater will forever remain a mystery, which everyone interprets in his own way. New York City, June 1950. Times Square is bustling with life, cars honking, neon signs flashing, crowds of people hurrying about their business. Suddenly, a man appears out of nowhere. His clothes coat, vest, tall hat are as if cut out of an old 19th century engraving. He looks around, confused, his eyes full of terror. Before anyone realizes what is happening, the screech of brakes cuts through the noise of the city. A car has hit him to death. The police arrive on the scene, and one of the strangest mysteries of the 20th century begins. His name is Rudolph Fentz, and it seems he has just stepped through 74 years of time. Things are found on the man's body that baffle even seasoned detectives. In his pockets are copper coins dated 1876, a business card with a Fifth Avenue address, and the name Rudolph Fentz, a letter addressed to him, postmarked 1876, and $70 in old bills, long out of circulation. No trace of modern life, no plastic, no car keys, no 20th century documents. One of the policemen remarks, "He looks like he's from the past." Soon the rumor spreads through the city. This man is a time traveler who has accidentally fallen from the year 1876 straight into the year 1950. The investigation takes an even stranger turn. Captain Hubert Rome, supposedly in charge of the case, decides to dig deeper. He checks old archives and finds a record. Rudolph Fentz, a bank clerk, really disappeared in New York in the year 1876 at the age of 29 years. His family didn't know where he disappeared to. He simply left home and never returned. And now, decades later, he shows up in Times Square, still young, wearing the same clothes he was last seen in. Fentz's widow is long dead, but a phone book from 1939 reveals one Rudolph Fentz, Jr. His tracks lead to a woman who confirms that her father-in-law went missing in 1876. Everything fits. The incredible story begins to grow in details, and soon it is talked about all over the world. Isn't that proof of time travel? But wait. The more people delve into this story, the more cracks appear in its foundation. In the 1970s, researchers fascinated by the paranormal start checking the facts. Strike one, there is no record of Captain Hubert Rome in the New York City archives, not a single mention of such a policeman. Second blow, in the newspapers of 1950, not a word about the mysterious incident in Times Square. Third, the name Rudolph Fentz does not appear in any real list of missing persons for 1,876th year. Phone books, archives, testimonials. Anything that supposedly corroborated the story dissolves upon closer inspection. What on earth was it? The answer comes in the 2,000 years when researcher Chris Obeck turns his attention to the literary trail. In 1951, Collier's magazine published a short story by Jack Finney called I'm Frightened. It describes an almost identical case. A man in 19th century clothes appears in New York City in the 1950s. He is hit by a car, and he is found with old coins, a letter, and a business card. Finney, known for his fantastic time travel stories like the novel Between Two Times, created the story as a work of fiction. But how did the story become real? In 1972, science fiction writer Ralph Holland retold it in Pursuit magazine as a supposedly true incident, removing all references to Finney. From there, it made its way into books about the paranormal, such as William Corliss's Strange Things of Our Time, and took on a life of its own. The internet only added fuel to the fire. In the 1990s and 2000 years, forums and sites like Above Top Secret discussed Rudolph Fens as irrefutable fact. Some even claimed to have seen proof in old newspapers, though no one ever produced it. In 2007, the German journalist Paul Zagradsky finally debunked the myth by examining primary sources and confirming that it was pure fiction growing out of Finney's story. Even the name Rudolph Fens turned out to be no coincidence. In the year 1876, there was indeed a man with a similar name living in New York City, but he did not disappear and died a natural death much later. It all began in November of 2,000 years ago, when a new user appeared on the little-known Time Travel Institute Internet Forum. His name was John Titor, and he claimed something incredible. He was a time traveler who had arrived from the year 2036 in a time machine built into a 1,987-year-old Chevrolet Corvette. His mission? To retrieve an old IBM computer from the year 1975, needed to debug programs for the future, and to tell the people of the early 21st century what lies ahead. In an era when the internet was still young and full of mystery, his words sounded like thunder. Soon, forums were ablaze with discussion. Who was this man, and could he be trusted? John Titor was no random fantasist. He wrote in detail and confidently, as if he really knew what he was talking about. In his posts, he described his time travel device, the C204 gravitational distortion unit, created by General Electric in the future. He even posted schematics and photos, a strange metal box with buttons mounted in the machine, and an instruction manual printed on paper with the GE logo. Titor claimed the device created micro-singularities, tiny black holes, that warped space-time, allowing travel between eras. His style was dry, technical, almost scientific, which only fueled interest. And then he started predicting the future. First, he spoke of his era, the year 2036. The United States, he said, had experienced a second civil war from 2004 to 2015, which had begun because of disputes over rights and liberties after the election of 2004. The conflict split the country into 5 regions, and Washington, D.C. was destroyed. In the year 2017, Titor claimed Russia launched a nuclear strike on America, Europe, and China, killing millions. The world of 2036, he described, was a harsh one. People lived in small communities, grew food by hand, and technology, though it existed, was limited. He called it the world after End Day, the day of nuclear catastrophe. But Titor didn't just scare, he gave specific dates and events. For example, he predicted that in the year 2001, mad cow disease would be discovered in the United States, and that the Olympic Games of 2004 would be the last for many years because of impending war. His posts appeared from November 2001 through March 2001 on Time Travel Institute and Art Bell's Post-to-Post forums. Titer claimed to have been born in 1998 in Tampa, Florida, and to be 38 years old in 2036. He served in a military unit that sent him back in time. Why 2,000 years? Because he supposedly made a stop to visit family in 1998 and then stuck in the early noughties for a mission with IBM. He explained that this computer had a secret function, debugging old programming languages like APL and BASIC, which was vital for the future. In March 2001, he wrote one last message: "Mission accomplished, I'm coming home," and disappeared off the internet radar. At first, his story seemed too wild to be true, but the details, diagrams, photos, technical terms, made people doubt. In the year 2003, interest in Titer flared up with renewed vigor when his posts began circulating on sites like Above Top Secret and Anomalies.net. The Coast to Coast AM radio show with Art Bell added fuel to the fire by discussing his predictions. People were looking for traces of his words in reality. Yes, cases of mad cow disease were indeed found in the United States in 2003, but that was too general a coincidence. But the Civil War in 2004? Nothing of the sort happened. Elections were held, causing controversy, but the country remained intact. The Athens Olympics of 2244 took place like all the others. A nuclear strike in 2017. The world breathed a sigh of relief when the date passed without catastrophe. By 2010, it was clear. John Titer was wrong. None of his key predictions had come true. Researchers began to dig deeper into the story. In 2003, a Florida lawyer named Larry Haber registered the John Titer Foundation, and his brother, an engineer named Maury Haber, was suspiciously good at the details of IBM, the very debugging function Titer had been talking about. This gave rise to a theory. The Haber brothers may have been behind the hoax. Others pointed to science fiction writer Robert Todd Carroll, or even the collective work of a few enthusiasts. In the year 2009, Italian filmmaker Luca Cassetta's documentary, John Titer, Time Traveler, attempted to find the truth, but also failed to provide a definitive answer. Today, John Titer is considered one of the most famous internet hoaxes. His story is a mixture of ingenious fiction and the human craving for miracles. Time machine schematics? A science fiction-inspired fake. Photo? Most likely staged, but even after all these years, Titer remains a legend. In 2017, when nuclear war hadn't happened, fans still argued, could he have been from another timeline? Or did his warnings change the future? The reality is simpler. It was a game that captured the minds of millions. John Titer disappeared in the year 2001, leaving behind not a time machine, but a mirror of our hopes and fears of the unknown. New York City, January 2003. The financial world is buzzing. A man whose successes seem impossible is emerging on Wall Street. Andrew Carlson, a 44-year-old man with no past, invests a mere $800 in stocks and turns them into $350 million in 2 weeks. He makes 126 risky trades, and everyone is a winner. Federal agents from the Securities and Exchange Commission, SEC, can't believe their eyes. There is no such luck. They arrest him on January 28th, suspecting insider trading, but what happens next turns everything upside down. Carlson doesn't deny the charges. He gives a 4-hour-long confession, claiming he arrived from the year 2256 in a time machine armed with knowledge of the future market. The story sounds like science fiction. Carlson tells investigators that in his era, stock market ups and downs are public history, like a school textbook. He admits it was too tempting to resist. I wanted to do it naturally, losing here and there, so I wouldn't look suspicious, but I got carried away. To prove his point, he offers a deal. Reveal Osama bin Laden's location and an AIDS cure in exchange for freedom and a return to his time machine. However, he refuses to say where it is hidden, fearing the technology will fall into the wrong hands. The SEC agents are shocked. One of them declares, "We don't believe this guy. He's either crazy or a pathological liar." But how do you explain his success? It's not luck. It's more than that. Further adding to the mystery is the fact that no trace of Andrew Carlson's existence can be found before December 2002. The news blows up the media. On February 25, 2003, the tabloid Weekly World News publishes a story headlined, "Time Traveler Caught for Insider Trading." The story is reprinted by Yahoo News in the entertainment section on March 19th and is soon picked up by magazines and newspapers around the world. Carlson becomes a sensation. On March 29th, a mysterious benefactor bails him out on $1 million, and he is scheduled to appear for a hearing on April 3rd. But on that day, Andrew disappears, without a trace, as if vanished into thin air. Weekly World News later writes, "The time traveler has escaped," and rumors that he has returned to the future only gain momentum. The internet is ablaze with theories. Some call him a genius, others call him a fraud. Some even compare him to Biff from Back to the Future, who got rich by knowing the results of sports matches. But skeptics are starting to dig deeper. The SEC and FBI officially deny the existence of such a case. There is no arrest or trace of a man named Andrew Carlson in the archives. Wall Street is silent. Not a single trader confirms these events. And then a clue pops up. The Weekly World News is not a serious publication, but a satirical tabloid known for fictional stories about aliens, Batman Half-Man, and other fiction. Their own policy states, articles may be fictional and names may be accidental. The reader must turn off disbelief for the sake of enjoyment. Disclosure comes quickly. Snopes, an urban legend verification site, confirms. The Carlson story is pure fiction, born in the Weekly World News newsroom. No documents, no witnesses, no 350 million. Even the photo of Carlson in different articles show different people. So why did the story go viral? Yahoo News, by posting it without clearly identifying it as fiction, gave it the appearance of truth. And the idea of a time traveler who got rich on the stock market was too tempting to be forgotten. In 2003, the internet was still young, and rumors spread like wildfire. Today, Andrew Carlson is a symbol of the human love of mystery. No time machines, no millions, just talented fiction that has fooled thousands. But even years later, some whisper, what if he was real after all and just hid himself well? Wall Street continues to make noise, and Carlson's story remains in the shadows, as a reminder that truth is often duller than fantasy, but fantasy will always find an audience. Whatever the truth, one thing is certain: time remains humanity's greatest mystery. We fear it, study it, try to trap it, but it invariably slips away. But what if one day we do find a door through the ages? Who knows? Maybe one of us has already opened it. Thanks for listening. If you like this video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and write in the comments. What do you think? Do you believe in the possibility of jumping through eras? Or is it all just a beautiful myth?